Welcome to the Trash Cats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're chilling.
Straight chilling. My cat's asleep on the couch. This episode's going to be so fucking chill. I'm not even kicking my cat out of the room.
Oh man, she's going to wake up in 30 minutes.
I know. And then she'll start making a bunch of noise and she's a bully. She hurts me all day. She meows at me and then hits me in the face with her soft paws, and I have to protect myself. It's terrible. But she's asleep for now, so I think we're okay for a little bit.
I think my cat makes fun of me for being fat when I'm laying down, and she'll come over to me and she'll knead into my fat rolls.
Oh yeah.
And she does it, like a little bit, like I get it. That's just cat behavior, but she does it a lot.
And it's just a little too hard.
Yeah,
like
she's looking at me like, you
hey,
have
Mr.
all this.
Pizza.
Yeah, Mr. Pizza.
Give me some of that dough.
Yeah, let me get some of that dough, all the rolls on you. Over here kneading the rolls.
Honestly, man, last week, if anyone hasn't listened, we just did our Satanism episode, and I feel like we did really good. That was a high intensity, a lot of research, a lot of reading. I enjoyed it a lot.
All credited to you, as obvious by this sentence. I fucked up reading a whole lot. Steven had a lot of work editing on that one.
Honestly, I enjoyed the subject matter so much. It didn't feel that bad, but it was a lot to get done, and I'm very excited just to hang out, chill. We got fun, drama stuff, and weirdness to look at, but just like chill vibes. We can do whatever the fuck we want to do today.
Yeah.
How's your week, man?
It's been good. It's the first week since the the nearing end of the food truck season, so I've been pretty fucking chill. I had the last 3 days off. That was cool.
It's amazing.
It was fucking incredible.
So you're getting your life back, your winter life.
Yeah, I got my I took Sunday, and my body was just sore and tired, so I took the day to just kind of veg and do jack shit, and I made plans for like what I'm going to do, Monday, Tuesday, and I got a bunch of shit done. Just shit I've neglected around the house, so
dude,
felt nice.
Isn't it crazy, like, how accumulative damage is to your body? Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Like, you'll think you're doing okay, and then you finally get a chance to, like, get some rest and relaxation, and you're like, holy fuck, like, I'm fucked up right now. My joints hurt, my muscles are
I think
torn.
that's I mean, I don't know the science on it for sure, but I assume that's got something to do with like your brain protecting you. Your brain's like, we still have shit to do.
Yeah,
we can't deal with this right now.
You have to stay giant for a little longer before you can be a small person.
Yeah.
Can't be a little person yet. You gotta stay
I was
giant.
a little person on Sunday.
That's a great time for it. Yeah, I actually got like a full night of sleep last night. I went to bed at 2 p.m. and I felt...
At 2 p.m.?
2 a.m.
Okay.
I also don't know how to read
I'm going to say,
clocks,
God damn, that's a long sleep, dog.
It was a long slumber. No, I felt so much better. I was like, I really have to sleep more. It's absurd.
So wait. You got a full night's sleep. You went to sleep at 2 a.m. What time did you wake up?
7. So I got 5 hours. That's a full night of sleep. For a weekday, that's a full night.
Dude, 6 is my minimum.
So Monday through Friday, total, I'm getting under 25 hours of sleep.
That's fucked. That's so fucked.
Dude, in high school, there were weeks where I was sleeping under 10 hours.
That's fucked.
Like, I was like,
this explains a lot. Yeah, you are destroying yourself mentally.
Yeah, so but on the weekends, I'll sleep 12 hours at a time. I'm like catching up. So I just got to get a little bit better about it during the week. And last night, I had the whole bed to myself, and I was just chilling the fuck out. Felt so good to actually sleep.
Full starfish mode?
Full starfish. Permadunked.
That's what happened to me on Sunday. Actually, I woke up thinking like I'm gonna get shit done, and I think I woke up at 7:30, just because I'm used to waking up, around 6, 7-ish anyway. So like 7:30 was still sleeping in a little bit. And I got up and I got a cup of coffee and I sat down, and like within 45 minutes or so, I realized it's just not going to happen today.
Yeah.
It's just, I need to sit down, and that's just okay.
And you're good at sneaking naps in when you're able to, like in chill days.
Yeah, there's definitely been, I know there are certain days when I have like a long day at work and I come home and it's like, if I nap now, I can get a little bit of shit done later, but it's not going to be like, if I just go do it instead, that's usually my better option. But sometimes it's just, it makes sense. And
See,
I'm going to sneak a nap in. My cat's good at reminding me to do that too. She gets up on me and like, all right, sit down, motherfucker. You've been at work for 7 hours. You need to, come play with me, come pet me.
See, that's the reason I don't sleep. So like when I was using, I would stay up late at night doing devious activities, various assorted perversions. And I would, no matter how fucked up I was getting during the day, like I would always save like a Xanny bar, a 20 bag, something. And I would stay up as late as I had to until my girlfriend would fall asleep. And then I would get high like one more time and chill during the night, right? Mm-hmm. And that was like my sacred time.
The
right?
Nocturnal hours, yeah.
Yeah, and now sober, it's the same thing. I can't be still, so I'm always fucking working. And at night, it's like the only time I can actually relax. Like as long as I'm sneaky, I have a private nocturnal life to myself where I can do all the things I want to do or enjoy doing, like simple things without feeling like where it's, instead of like feeling like I'm losing my day, it's just like I know I'm going to feel shitty, but I always feel shitty, so like I might as well enjoy that time, right? It's just like hard to find the balance with it.
The first time I ever felt that was I remember was in college. So I had, some of that at a minor level before, but I lived with my parents, and it was like the sneaky aspect of it was much higher. But like what I was actually doing was like, watching TV or, like just general staying up, going to make snacks in the kitchen or something. But it wasn't like I was getting anything done. When I went to college, I realized like there's no law here. I can do whatever I want. So
a lawless land.
Yeah, that's Toronto, baby. So I would stay up and like until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, fucking, just drawing shit. And chain smoking cigarettes for a little while. But those fuckers were expensive, so I had to not do that anymore there.
When you think back on it, it's like you don't remember how tired you were that week. You have like memories of like, I remember being up really late and drawing something really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember getting all this cool stuff done, and like the solitude. I say that to people all the time when they, like, I don't know. I love the solitude right now in my life. Yeah. It's one of those I almost got on like, Hinge and Bumble and those way earlier in the year, and it was like, all right, this is a bad time for me to get started on this because I'm about to be working
busy as fuck.
50 something hours a week, and that's not a good time to start trying to date, in my opinion. But also I really don't have a drive to do that right now. I'm just,
the winter would be a good time for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
I'm down with it now.
I know what you mean.
But even still, it's like I really like my own space and my own time. It's like, why would I find somebody I want to share it with? Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that I've definitely felt that before in between, being with people, and being single. I enjoy it. And then the right person comes along and you're like, oh yeah, no, I definitely, I want to spend all of my time with this person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy it's how
getting to that point and taking that step. And it's like, I'm choosing to not do it right now because I just don't. I at least want a couple months of like chilling by myself before I get back into it. But yeah,
awesome.
wintertime is
Great
would
time
be the time. Yeah.
Find someone to keep warm with.
Damn right.
Isn't it crazy how, like, whether it's a friend or romantic partner or just like whatever, like one cool person can like dramatically shape your life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have a friend
podcast
coming over. Yeah, exactly. No, it's huge. This podcast is like, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, I look at this as a way of like, you and I, you know, like you always were much better about reaching out to me. Because I don't take that, my personality type, I just don't take that, you know, initiative. And I feel bad about it because usually I'm thinking about somebody a lot more than I reach out to them.
But I'm with you that it's an excuse to hang out. Like without it, even if I was trying and you were trying a lot, we still wouldn't have been, you know, we wouldn't be hanging out as much. Like bumping into the right person at a coffee shop can change how years of your life will look. Like that's so interesting how like even people that are introverted and enjoy solitude and privacy as much as we do, still like the right person, just like when they fall into place at the right time, it changes so much.
Yeah. That my last relationship was really good. It was healthy. So like I know there was a period of time where for me it was like I'm not going to find that all right off the bat. And I, you know, fucked around a little bit and it was like, I just wasn't finding anything that was worth, you know, nothing stuck, you know, like I had fun for a little bit and then nothing stuck. And it was like, all right, well, we just fucking focus on me for a minute and get my shit together first. And then.
Yeah. It'll find you.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, I went on a date to the aquarium over the weekend.
Hell yeah.
I haven't been to the Newport Aquarium. It's probably been like 5 years. Me and Sarah always talk about going, and it's one of those things. It's hard to find a day where two people both have enough time to make a day out of it, and you have $100 to burn, you know? Yep. So we finally went, and god damn, I wish I could see exotic fish every day of my life. Every single day. They're aliens, dude. They're just aliens in little glass tanks of water. They're so fucking cool. I could look at the patterns and like light reflecting through their scales forever, every single day. I fucking love it.
Hell yeah.
I saw an upside down Asian catfish, and it took me 10 minutes to realize it was actually upside down. They're like the black metal catfish. They're that deep, deep purple that's almost black, and all their whiskers and fins are like extra spiked. And oh man, they got those blue, cold, dead shark eyes. Just so cool.
I don't think I've been there in
10.
Dude, I think it's been over 15. So I think the last time I went, it might have been a school trip.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. It was so goddamn long ago.
Yeah, the exhibits have changed an awful lot.
It was like new, I think, the last time I went.
Yeah. Actually, you know, breeding koi fish is actually big money.
Oh, yeah, it is.
$10K a koi.
Yeah, them motherfuckers are ridiculous expensive.
Yeah, and some people there's like the whole black market. I know someone that breeds koi fish, but there's also a secondary blacker market where you breed goldfish, and they grow as big as their container relatively, and you can get them to grow to the size of koi fish, and they look as beautiful, if not more sometimes, because they can get really diverse patterns and shit, and people will sell those illegally for the same price.
Hell yeah.
Whole koi scam market.
That black market koi market there.
So cool. But dude, I had a couple funny encounters at the aquarium. So I always carry a knife because I live on the west side of Cincinnati. And as a teenager, I constantly would get kicked out of Newport on the Levee for either smoking cigarettes or having a knife.
Just being a teenager.
Yeah, just being rowdy as fuck. And I'm with Sarah. We're walking in to the aquarium. And I realize as I'm walking in, I'm like, fuck it. I got my knife on me. I'm like, God damn it. I don't want to walk all the way back to the car. So I was like, you know what? We're just going to go in. And immediately, anywhere I go, this is why I can't steal. I can never be a thief because I'm immediately profiled everywhere I go. And as soon as I walk in, some 15-year-old kid is like, sir, I need you to step aside. Instantly pulled out of line by a 15-year-old. And he's like, what do you got in your pockets? And I was like, dude, I got a lot of stuff, including a knife. And they bring over like 2 adults as managers. Uh-huh. And I have like phones, wallets, vapes, keys, and a big pocket knife. And they're like, you got all that? And they're like, all right, let me scan you. They scan me. They give me my knife back and just let me go in. And I'm like, well, what is the rules here? It's like the only thing I can't bring a gun? Right. And then I thought this was funny. As soon as they finish me, I look at Sarah. I'm like, you're not even going to look in our purse? You don't know what she's got. I'm like, look at this. Yeah. The kid did not find it funny at all. I thought it was very funny. But I was like, I thought it was odd. Like,
look at this fucking deviant over here just walking right through security. I
really try not to, because you never know. Like, the right cop or like the right length of knife, you can actually get in trouble. I've like normally got to check that shit in a locker, put in your car, and they just like did not give a fuck at all. I don't know if it was just because it was Kentucky and maybe the only thing they actually do care about is people coming in with their conceal and carry or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's kind of odd. And then you mentioned the jellyfish room, the little gallery of jellyfish. So that's changed, but they do have one of the tanks in that room. Dude, it is probably the most gorgeous octopus I've ever seen in real life. It was one of those ones where maybe like full span, it's like 4 to 5 feet with a million suction cups. And it was like bright reddish purple. And it was like very active, moving all over, just sticking to the glass, going through the coral. It was doing like a whole song and dance. And it was, dude, just so fucking beautiful. And there's this guy on the bench. And he's with his girlfriend. And this dude, I'm still kind of perplexed about our interaction. Because he was talking to his girlfriend. And he was obviously like so excited, right? Like they were camped out there. He was there to see this octopus, right? And he starts like talking to me, listing off facts about octopuses. And he ends this interaction by saying, did you know octopuses are actually aliens from outer space?
What? Whoa.
And I looked at Sarah and my thought was, all right, there could be something to this, but I'm fairly positive how he said it would not be true, right? And I was like, this dude's either a little wacky or he's on to something. He knows a little something. And I was like, I'm going to have to check that out. I was like, did you see that movie, My Octopus Teacher? Mm-hmm. And he just was like, yeah, and stopped talking. Like he was put off that I mentioned this documentary. He seemed very annoyed. I was like, damn, all right, whatever. So I ended up looking this up. This is just an Yahoo News article. New scientific paper claims octopuses are actually aliens from outer space. And there's some truth to this. It's not fully true, but the article states, octopuses are from space. I know that sounds like an opening line of a cheesy science fiction movie from the black and white days of Hollywood, but it's actually the main part of an argument behind a research paper published in an actual peer-reviewed journal. The paper was published in the journal Progress in Biophysics and Molecular Biology, titled Cause of the Cambrian Explosion, Terrestrial or Cosmic. The paper digs deeper into the origins of life on Earth. As a result, it posits that life began thanks to a rain of retroviruses, which literally fell from space. Those retroviruses then added new DNA sequences to terrestrial genomes, which the paper says farther drove mutagenic change. Where things start to get really interesting, though, is when the paper starts to discuss the arrival of cephalopods. The paper claims that certain cephalopods, like octopuses, squids, and others, arrive on the planet by falling from space, frozen in a kind of stasis. Thus, the possibility that cryopreserved squids and/or octopus eggs arrived in icy icy bolids several 100 million years ago should not be discounted. How crazy is that?
That's very wild. But see, I don't know. I've always been on the team. I like the idea that, like, okay, so life on this planet in general, all life on this planet, where did it come from?
Somewhere.
Yeah, it came from somewhere, like the idea that it just kind of like grew out of, like even like, like plant life would be like plant, algae or not even algae, but like one-celled, shit first. Like, where did that come from? It makes sense to me that it came in, on within the moisture on, a meteorite or something that hit the Earth when it was still forming, kind of shit. So that was already here and then grew. So like it makes sense that that's true. What makes less sense to me, and I don't know, I know there's a thing for this. How much DNA do we share with, like an octopus?
I would assume it's still a lot. It's kind of interesting though, because like octopuses are kind of like the classical example of an animal that is most alien-like. One of the things that helped me, I don't know, feel like it was possible for Earth to develop, like an Earth without humans, going back in time, having some amount of water. Eventually we get an algae, right? Some sort of bacteria, whatever. The idea that kind of helped me feel like that level of evolution was possible was somebody explaining it as like, think about, you have these very microscopic growths, and then imagine what happens when you add electrical current, when you have lightning and weather and those type of things. For some reason, the idea of like lightning hitting algae, it feels so like Frankenstein-ish.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
All of a sudden it feels like, oh, well, if lightning hits the primordial soup, we definitely could grow some squid, like it makes it feel possible for some reason.
I mean, all you're going to get from that really would be,
warm soup.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have some burnt algae,
but But doesn't heating things change that could change proteins or enzymes that are given off, like on a molecular level? Couldn't that diversify?
So yes and no. So what you're thinking of is like what you would be looking at would be like over many, 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 thousands of years.
Yeah.
You can change that. Short term, all you're going to get is like those whatever life, lightning struck near or whatever, they're going to be cooked, or they're going to, nothing happens.
But that could add more carbon that could affect, right? Like I get in one instance, it's not going to like birth something.
Right. Yeah. So like, the idea, so actually the Earth has cooled down significantly since, the early stages, right? So it's significantly cooled down for a while.
It's come in waves though, right? I don't think it's a straight downward on the graph. I don't know if it's overall cooler.
It's overall cooler. We are heating back up because of what we're doing. But overall, we've cooled down. We had a, period.
How positive? Like, do you know this really well? I don't.
I know. I don't know the timeline super well. Like, how many millennia or whatever it was, but it was. I know that, if you think about the origins of Earth and when life began, we were already like far into the cooling down period. We had less ozone back then, so we did have more sunlight coming through. But that being said, we also had less. We had a way for the sunlight, the heat, the radiation to escape because we didn't have that ozone. So that being said, we are on the upswing of warming back up, just not in a way that, it was at the, building block of life on Earth. So what you can see this in a lot of like extremophile animals where they live in, hot spring type area, near volcanic, areas where the water is like constantly boiling. And there's still these small animals, like not even like microorganisms, but like, excuse me.
Brooke, I will say, I think we're close to as warm as it did used to be at one point. But this is not an excuse. We cause global warming, right? But there is some truth to that the Earth temperature really does come in waves. And I do think to some extent we may have a little, just a smidge less control over it than like hardcore recyclers would like to think. Not that I don't think you know what I mean? I know you know what I mean, but I'm not saying like we should. Like,
no, absolutely. There's less of so the problem would more be that we've had, all these Arctic caps that we've relied on just being there throughout the entire history of our planet. So
this year they're fucked.
So if you look at what happened, like dinosaur era shit, right? So, asteroid comes down, strikes the Earth, where the entire planet's covered in, smoke and fucking dust and rubble and shit. It's being held in by, our atmosphere. That's what ushered in the Ice Age, right? So we got from that, like what survived out of that is what became life as we know it. We were still coming out of that as man was coming to exist. We still had the bridge, the land bridge over
Pangea.
Yeah, we know. Not Pangea. This was
from Africa to the Americas, right?
No, that was way before people. So there are people that talk about otherwise, but the Africa and America had separated, but there's a lot of proof coming out more recently that Africans had sailed to what would be South America way before any other explorers from Europe had gotten the chance to.
I feel like global warming is a bit like an asthma attack. The asthma it already exists, it's underlying, but we are causing the exacerbation. Like we are the ones making it worse, but there is like a natural amount of planet asthma.
I mean, yeah, the conditions are all there. Like we couldn't have the pollution problem if we didn't have the atmosphere, but also the atmosphere is what keeps us alive. I think, is that what you're saying? Like the conditions were all there. Like we are exacerbating an issue.
But more like even before humans existed, the Earth, every so many thousand years, does naturally make big shifts between hot and ice age, between warm and cold. Like there is a certain amount of natural temperature changes, and we are like making it so much worse that it's becoming more extreme, but we're also in like one tiny part of the timeline.
When you say natural, it's not that it happens for no reason, though. It's still caused by an out factor. Yeah, it's the effect of something else.
That's the when you hear people have debates about this, that's where like you said, where natural gets confusing because it's like humans are natural too. Like humans doing unnatural things is, could still be considered natural. Like the Ice Age could be considered natural.
Right. And it was by many means, it was just the natural way that shit happened. The effect of a collision with the earth that blocked out our atmosphere and led to, you had less sunlight getting in. You had all, so what we had the Bering Strait between Russia and Americas that were, that was all open and we could walk across that. And, that's why we have, that's where, the Native Americans come from. That's where, all of the people that were in the Americas that settled here, like they didn't just show up out of fucking nowhere. They fucking walked here. And you can see that with, DNA shit. If you check it all back, it all adds up. It all makes sense that we just traveled across here. But what I was getting at was we only started coming into existence like during all this, and it lasted so long. But like, as far as we know, the Earth has only gotten warmer really since we started. It's only started to go back up. I think I started off saying it's cooled down significantly, but like throughout our existence.
I feel like I might have to cut this because we can leave this in, but I'm looking at like chart temperatures, and my understanding has always been that there are gradual trends, but that the temperature has largely fluctuated before we existed. Like it's not like a linear passage. Like we've had multiple dark cold ages or medieval warm periods or sudden cool downs that when I just hear people like, cause I'm very much on the side of like, we should recycle. We shouldn't be putting oils in our fucking river. Like we're doing disgusting things to the world. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's a little arrogant when people like people on the green side are like, we are causing everything. Like it is all our fault. Because I just feel like it's a little arrogant to think we have full control over the Earth's ability to regulate itself. I'm not saying like we aren't destroying shit and making things way worse, but my understanding is that the world goes through different cycles and phases, and that
it does. But that's not to say that we're not.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm with you. Because I think a lot of people that are like super right use the reasoning I'm saying I'm acknowledging as an excuse to just farther try to make more money and pollute as much as possible. Right? Like, I feel like most people who acknowledge that some of it is out of our control are only doing so in attempt to say we hold no responsibility.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't feel that way. I just think some of it is bigger than us too. Not fully, but some of it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that there's definitely some responsibility. I think we've talked about this before where, there's so much of the blame is placed on the individual, which, right. I mean, sure, there is some, because it's one of those, it's
policy.
Yeah. There is a, you take some of the responsibility on yourself, but you and I are not responsible for the incredible fucking pollution that is in the air and the sea. You and I personally are not responsible. There's no way either one of us has made nearly enough trash to cause that kind of effect. You do have large, the businesses that we rely on as a society that produce goods that we need in the way that we want to live.
we all have a certain amount of collective responsibility
Right.
in an individual, but it is shitty when you're an individual who, if you had full collective control, it would be different, because in reality,
Right.
so many of these corporations, companies, policies, whatever, do things that are far beyond what your capacity to pollute would ever be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like shark hunting.
Just like shark hunting. I think people go through phases of like feeling super guilty about that shit. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you put in any effort, you're fine. If you put in any effort to like, try to reuse shit, try to recycle, cause even like recycling, like they don't end up doing what you think they're doing with all that shit. There's so much of like cardboard and shit. Like if it's, I forget what someone, one of the fucking recycling people told me, like at the last restaurant I worked at, we had all these different bins in the back, and we were like, I had just taken over, and it's like, is it better if we separate this? And they're like, it all goes on the same truck. And it's like, all right, cool. And they're like, he's like, honestly, most of this doesn't get recycled anyways.
Fuck no.
If it's like, it's got food on it and shit, like there's processes they have to do. And if, whatever product it is fucks with that process, they just trash it.
Well, it's like one thing destroys the whole batch. Like Cincinnati doesn't recycle shit.
Yeah.
Like I think it's like over 75%. I'm totally making this number up, but I know I've looked at it before. A huge, like I'm fairly positive 50% of the stuff put in recycling does not get recycled. Like it's composting is the best thing you could do, but it's like it's a very hard thing to take full personal ownership over it when so much of our fucking world today is out of our control.
Yeah. And
speaking of which,
I'm
gonna switch it. Prison reform. I heard a really interesting take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Previously, we've talked about VR imprisonment, the idea that we could make VR alternate reality systems that could simulate prison time. We've talked about that a little bit. Like if
that was a Black Mirror thing.
Yeah, like you murder someone, and really, what's the point of imprisoning people? In one sense, it's to protect society.
Mm-hmm.
In the other sense, it is for justice by imprisonment, by revenge, by doing harm to the misdoer, right?
There's a certain amount of comfort that comes to the general public when someone is something is taken away from, or something is done to the person who committed a crime.
It's extremely barbaric. Like all the parties of Jeffrey Dahmer in the electric chair. They're selling T-shirts. There was a full festival.
Jesus.
People cheering for his death. Like that, happens for a lot of serial killers. Like we take tremendous pride in killing our prisoners. Like for killing our murderers in the United States. We love killing a murderer. That's the best. And at the same time, those people are super anti-abortion. It's really funny how that works. But so there's been this idea for a while, especially as VR has gotten more popular, that we could develop new ways of having someone experience a prison term without the logistics and of money and time and lack of a person contributing to society by them being in prison, to have them just have the experience of it. Mm-hmm. Where in theory they would change just as much if they do at all, and it would be more practical, cost-worthy, whatever. So that idea has been played around with for a while. There's the people that really want the punishment, the real like justice part of it.
Yeah.
Those people are never going to be satisfied with that.
Right.
But alternatively to the VR, I heard of, this was a conceptual thing in a show, and people started riffing on afterwards, the idea of drugs that are called time dilators, where instead of a VR system, you could give a drug to someone that slows their neurological capabilities, where time gets experienced differently. So you could have shorter imprisonments in a chemically altered state that would feel much longer.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't
I don't think it's good. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting.
So what I wanted to go with that is I've heard a recent argument, and it's still very underground, but there is a small community of people globbing onto this idea and attempting to make serious political proposals with it. So the conversation started around school shootings, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we think of how many school shootings there are today, which is, there's a fuck ton compared to previously, but it's still like a small percentage of kids will ever commit a school shooting, right? But when we look at 90 whatever percent of school shootings, right? That kid does not want to get caught, right? Like very few mass shooters are willing to go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, they want to kill themselves or die by cop.
Yeah.
Before they ever go in. So this argument online, this group of people have been trying to come up with ways to prevent things as horrid as mass shootings, right?
Yeah.
And the worst thing we have in our criminal justice system is the death penalty. And in theory, your prison sentence is supposed to be a nonviolent thing. Like, there's tons of abuse in prison. We all know that. But in theory, you're supposed to be able to go behind the bars and you sit there long enough until they give you a drug and you die. Like, it should be pretty nonviolent, right? So the idea these people have come up with to try to like farther prevent people from mass shootings or killings or whatever is to reinstate medieval torture, essentially, where no longer is the death penalty an option for certain horrific crimes, but that we would legally reinstate certain forms of torture to prevent people from doing terrible things. I don't at all, stand behind this idea, but I find it very interesting that people are willing to almost backpedal, like a reverse thinking. We've seen abortion go this way, interracial marriage. We're looking at, while most people want, a softer, quote unquote, justice system, there's now a pushback of people who want to literally reinstate torture.
Yeah. Shit's wild, man.
What do you think? Torture in prisons?
Yeah, man. Just chain them back up, put them in the shackles, and the what was it called? The fucking thing you put your head and hands through, and people throw tomatoes at you.
Stockade.
Yeah. Let's bring those back.
Now there is a thing like. Typically, you hear it with like pedophiles, like throw them in the wood chipper or shoot your local heroin dealer. Like, or terrorists should be allowed to be tortured for information. Like, there's mainstream arguments for certain forms of very extreme violence to very specific people.
Yeah.
And it's very normal to hear God-fearing people, anti-abortion people, Christian people say they believe in those forms of specific ultra-violence, right?
Including death penalty shit.
Yeah, and it would not be much of a leap to go from those current beliefs to, hey, maybe we should torture a pedophile, a terrorist, XYZ.
Right.
And I don't think it is like beyond the pale that a lot of people could just be willing to take that half step farther. And what I think the issue is I think it's actually hard to argue against, because when you're arguing against that, you're the one defending the terrorist. The pedophile,
you're literally playing devil's advocate.
It's very hard though, because it's hard when on an individual level. Like, I feel like there's tons of individuals that deserve to be tortured. I'd be fully willing to torture quite a few people. But as a policy, I would never feel like it's okay for us to torture X group of people, Y group of people. But if you're on the defending side of we should not do that, you're starting at a massive disadvantage. They have the high ground, I feel like, for those arguments, just like abortion, where like the science is not going to give you the high ground for protecting it, you know?
That's so when I think of, I mean, like we already went through the torturing for information thing. We talked about that with the 9/11 shit.
Yeah.
And it, of course, what we came through with that was like, you don't get valuable information, reliable information from that. You get the words of someone that wants you to stop torturing them.
Sure. But to be fair, the asterisk is you get a ton of unreliable information with some very important information.
Yeah, true. So that being said, I feel I do agree with you that it's definitely hard to defend, especially because there's such high emotions about that shit.
Yeah.
When you start talking about like, pedophiles and shit like that, and it's like, that's people are, they're frightened, and they're, even if it's not something that happened to them and their family, they're, that's a nightmare situation.
They more than likely know someone affected by it. And
yeah,
I know, I've had a lot of people in my life affected by things, and especially if it was close to a time in my life where something happened to someone I love, all rationality is out the door.
Right.
It's just such a sensitive topic. And so when you're arguing against someone that is like pro-violence to one of those groups, you're basically showing up to a duel with fucking prayer beads, like some loser monk, and the other dude's got a fucking mace and he's ready to beat you to death with it. And it's just hard when you're combating vicious ideologies.
Now, I will say in Dungeons and Dragons, if you had a monk, they could actually probably do some damage.
Multi-hit attacks.
Yeah, man.
Little laying on of the hands, perhaps.
Yeah. the whole, I don't know. I understand the want for a violent reaction to, sorry?
Eye for an eye.
Yeah, I understand that. Where that opinion or where that thought process comes from. I totally understand it. I feel like that's a very primal and human thing. The difference is that doesn't further us. Like as a whole, as a society, when you think of a long term, that doesn't further us. That's not a long-term solution, because we've had that in effect, and it doesn't change anything. That's like people say like, oh, like, well, it's illegal. And it's like, well, that, something being illegal doesn't stop anybody from doing it.
That's not true.
It's not that it doesn't stop anybody from doing it. It doesn't prevent it from happening.
It prevents most of it from happening.
Yeah.
It's like,
but it's still the cost of getting caught from doing something illegal, that doesn't make it not happen. The idea would be, how do we, it's like, people were like saying this about,
abortions.
So like cops don't, solve crime. They react to it. Cops don't show up.
Crime.
Exactly. The cops don't show up until the crimes happen.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a long-term solution, I think that the idea wouldn't be, what do we do with these people once they do it? The idea would be, how do we approach this situation before it happens?
Yeah.
How do we figure out what's going on and why this is happening, and start there? And meanwhile, of course, there is shit happening, and people are, going to get upset by, like you said, you're going to have people that are just not happy with the outcome, regardless of how, you look at it. Neither party is going to be completely satisfied one way or the other. But when I think long term, it's not torture and the eye for eye shit. It doesn't.
Now, can I push you?
Yeah.
So I feel like you saying the eye for an eye is not good is almost. I'm being pushy. I'm being a little devil's advocate, so I don't mean this interpersonally, but I feel like there's a contradiction between that of like saying eye for an eye is not good and a satanic LaVeyan mindset of someone hurts you, slaps you on the cheek, you slap them 100 times, you beat them in the face to death, right?
So,
There's a Can I expand for a sec?
Yeah.
So my thought is I think revenge should be legal. I think we should have a much wider scope on person-to-person violence. But that is, I get that's not necessarily a normal or best way for a country to see fit. But I think a state, a government, whatever, should never have the capability of killing people, torturing them, because I don't want my government to choose who lives or dies. Yeah. I don't want people in positions of power to have that power over the everyman, the Joe Sixpack, as it were. Yeah. But I think individually, we should have a lot more room to work with in terms of violence.
So, and this is one of the things that I feel, what I feel personally and what I know is right are two different things. So what I feel personally is that I agree that there are definitely forms of like some kind of like, you know, you hear the stories all the time of like, you know, someone kills their abuser and then they get, you know, jail time or something. And it's like, that's fucked, right? Like
I think it's so circumstantial. There's sometimes I think killing the abuser is the right thing, and then the other times 20 years have passed and it's premeditated and done in a particular vicious way. Like it's such a fine line.
Yeah, there's circumstances and shit and that change, you know, case to case. But I think that there's still. And this is where I do disagree with the LaVeyan, you know, like not the only place where I disagree with LaVeyan shit, but this is definitely one of the bigger ones, is that revenge begets more revenge. You take revenge on, you know, someone, I don't know, steals some shit from you.
My brother fucks you over, you kill my brother, then I have to kill you. Like, violence begets fun,
Yeah, so it gets dirtier and grittier that way. So then we have to take a step back and we look, okay, well, what are we aiming for? What's the ideal and realistic society that we're going for? And if you don't act in that accordance with what you want, you know, that's be the change you want to see in the world thing. If you don't act in accordance with what you expect from the future, from what you expect from other people, that there is a degree of you are fooling yourself, number one. You know, you are, if you're living in a world where everyone is acting a certain way, but you want to see it change. You want to, you know, whether you think it's for the better or whatever, you want to see it change so you act that way. You are an outsider in that realm. If you are trying to change other people and their actions and spread whatever shit, you're still an outsider to that. I feel like the idea of moving forward, if the goal is, you know, peace of a better kind, of a more prominent kind than we have, of a more stable idea of that the legalization, you know, to any degree of revenge gets real dirty and tricky.
It does, but I think this is how I feel. I feel as an institution, institutionally or in policy, we should be on the side of peace. Mm-hmm. There should be no encouragement.
Don't start shit.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be executing prisoners or torturing terrorists or letting all the pedophiles get murdered in the prisons. Like, I don't want that world.
Yeah.
But I do feel like individuals should have a much higher legal capacity for violence in terms of aggressing against aggressors.
Yeah. Now,
like I think we should have more room for that. I think in a lot of ways we're in denial of human nature. Like, we've made a world.
Yeah. So that's where I agree with. I do agree with that. Where we are fighting our biology a lot by, like we are animals, and I think that us forming societies in general, and like our image of ourself is different than what we are.
Yeah, like if you killed my brother,
yeah,
or your brother kills my brother, right? Mm. So I kill your brother, right?
Yeah.
The chain of violence. If you want to be that change you want to see in the world and you want peace, you're the person who doesn't retaliate.
Right.
I feel like that is fair. Like, I feel like there are a ton of people who aren't just going to continue violence forever. I don't think if we changed a handful of like self-defense or like revenge laws, I don't think there's going to be an infinite death spiral. I think there will be more deaths, right? But I also think a lot of those will lead to good results. Mm-hmm. There are going to be bad results too, but I feel like those bad results happen anyway out of human nature. But I think a lot of good people will stop those circles of violence. And I think a lot of people who, in my opinion, are owed violence or revenge, I think deserve that, because oftentimes in that, there's something very positive that can happen too, that I don't think ever gets talked about.
I will absolutely say I like the idea of, the interpersonal, the video, whatever, went kind of viral of the guy was in court for the guy that was like the person that killed his son or something. And while he's like getting read his sentence and, he's about to go to jail or whatever, the dad of the kid that died came over and like sucker punched him. Mm-hmm. And I defend that. That's understandable. Absolutely. Like, I 100% get that. And I don't think that he should see charges for that at all. I prefer that kind of, that retaliation interpersonally way over, the state doing it. Mm-hmm. It's happening in, an institutional facility that is designed, what is supposed to be designed to help people,
I mean, that's the angle of approach I'm coming from. I mean, hands down, he should be tried with assault for that.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think it should be that way. I don't particularly like how that happened, but I think you should be able to call out your abuser, your oppressor, your aggressor, mm-hmm. and handle it as you see fit. And if, that could mean a lot of times it doesn't go well for you too. I don't want to live in the world where the biggest, strongest man gets to control everything.
Right.
But I also don't want to live in the world where the biggest, strongest man can hurt me and I can't do anything back.
Right. Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of ways, for a lot of people who are generally of lower status or more oppressed or in just tougher circumstances, when you're in that low position and you have people that can do you great harm, there is almost nothing that you can legally do to get satisfaction out of that. I just think there needs to be a little more. I want that dad to be able to punch that murderer or whatever.
Right.
It's tricky. It's really tricky. But I think we solved it.
Yeah.
The point.
Yeah. This is why people listen to the show. They come here for conclusions to world problems.
All right. Speaking of funny conclusions.
When are we having our meeting with the UN?
Oh, they...
I know we're way behind. We really need to sort out this Ukraine thing.
Their people can reach out to my people, and we'll get something together.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting art thing. Beeble. Remember, he's a digital artist. I know we both know. He's the digital artist that sold his recent art collection for $69 million. He's like the third richest, most successful modern day living artist.
Yeah.
Does some really cool stuff. Does a lot of lame stuff too. But he's cool as fuck because for over 10, 15 years, whatever the fuck it is, he puts out new art every fucking day. And I've followed him for years, and his meteoric rise has been so fucking cool to witness. But there was a time when because he's one of these guys that really changed the NFT world, right? And there was a time where he was doing some streaming or at some events, and he went to sleep, and some dude stole and faked. They made a fake collection of his artwork, and they sold it for multiple millions of dollars while he was asleep. And that was like one of the first big NFT, Bitcoin-y thefts, right, in the crypto art world. So, that was a while ago. There's been a ton of things since then, and it's a major problem that it's easy to rip off and resell fraudulent NFT art. But recently, Beeble was just robbed again.
Yeah.
Now this is a cool one. This is a modern art heist I approve of.
Right. This is really good.
So I will preface it. In the past, we've mentioned another NFT project called Fungus Tokens, and it was an art theft project where the creator would go around having himself and other people illicitly swab famous pieces of art with a Q-tip. And then they would put that Q-tip and the bacteria on it under an electronic microscope, electromagnet, whatever microscope, and they would make video coins of the bacteria of the painting growing. And it would have the bacteria video matched with the art. And that was the fungus
beautiful
coin.
Petri dishes of modern NFT art.
Yeah, so cool. So now, art theft, there's still traditional art theft, forgery.
Yeah, fuck, so that Van Gogh was stolen in, was it 2020?
Yeah, all kinds of shit. But there's also this new age form of like, I don't even know what to call it yet, like crypto theft, like crypto heists, like NFT crypto heists.
The right clickers.
So this thing that happened to Beeble, it's very lighthearted. It's nothing malicious or serious, but it's interesting. Yeah. So in theory, Beeble was just robbed by this comedian. He's this dude named Sean Millea. Sean, Seanmillea. He's on TikTok if you want to check him out. He's some comedian dude. I believe he does art as well. Mm-hmm. He goes to an NFT conference, or is the NFT or crypto conference, where he knows Beeble is going to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Beeble had just recently sold that project $69 million. This is the art guy. This is the digital art guy everyone wants to meet, right? He goes to this conference and he finds Beeble. Beeble's a very nerdy, approachable internet dude. He just is like, chill, we'll talk to anybody. He goes up to Beeble and he says, hey, can I show you a magic trick? And Beeble's like, sure, dude, let's do it. He talks real goofy. So he gets Beeble to start drawing a stickman. He says, I need you to draw a stickman for this trick. Beeble draws the stickman, and then this dude, Sean, says, thanks, and he disappears. He just walks off. Yeah, that was the magic trick.
Fucking so good.
He steals a stickman drawing. Now, he goes home after the event. He frames that stickman drawing. And, in the NFT crypto world of post-irony, he takes that framed stickman drawing of Beeble, and he starts listing it online.
It's important to know that he did take video of him doing this.
Yes.
Getting the drawing and all that.
Yeah, it's all recorded. Starts listing it, showing it off. He starts getting offers. $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, $125,000. Now, of course, most of these offers are probably sketchy, non-legit, scams, trying to trick him to mail their art somewhere. So, who the fuck knows how legit they were. But he starts getting real offers. So he goes to art authenticators. While it has been recorded, the authenticators demand that it needs to have the artist's signature. That the video wasn't enough. He didn't know this was a piece of art. You need to at least get him to sign his name to the work.
Right.
A little time passes. Sean then goes to another crypto conference where Beeble is going to be speaking again. And apparently this time around, Sean has a job doing interviews for some YouTube channel. And Beeble is giving one of those quick standing interviews. And Beeble does his questions with them. And then afterwards, Sean says, hey, I need you to sign the content release form, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be on YouTube for a channel. We need you to sign this paperwork. Beeble signs it. Sean walks off, pulls up the form. He cut all the boxes of the signature area of the agreement forms, and under it placed that stickman drawing.
Fuck yeah.
So, dude, I fucking love it. Now, part of this is definitely very memey. I don't know if it actually will be authenticated fully or what it would sell for, but in theory, he had enough to get it authenticated. I believe he did, and I don't know what the current status is. But there was another example of this in Cincinnati where a local UC student basically snuck a banana painting into a museum claiming that he was Banksy. The museum finds this painting later and they're like, what the fuck is this banana painting? And he comes up with this very elaborate ruse to convince them that Banksy left the painting in the museum and he was the one handling it as Banksy's management.
Wow.
This piece of art, it ends up getting proven, it's not Banksy, but the story that ensues, it's a great series of videos. I'm fairly sure he sold it for over $1 million by the time it was all said and done. So there's this new world of it's almost like prank art theft scams. Like they're art heists that
For the lulz.
Basically.
Yeah.
But if you do it right, or in a way that is so fascinating to these online communities, you actually end up creating real value. And it may be temporary. It's not going to be a lasting masterpiece in a museum, but it's going to be worth a lot to someone who finds it interesting enough or funny enough. So there's some really cool, weird crypto heists going on. I just thought that was such a fun one.
I feel like
he sells anything, but
I feel like how could you, if you put yourself in people's shoes for that moment,
he loved it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds so fucking cool. It's like, all right, you got me. That's smart. It's it's original. You're taking advantage of a new age phenomenon.
Performance art.
Yeah, exactly. So that being said, the problem then lies with all the people that are going to try to copy that.
Yeah.
And they're at that point, you're not doing anything original. You're copying.
Well, the copies
what someone else did
are inevitably going to be worth so much less. It's that first time, that moment of magic where someone creates this idea that they created value out of nothing by just thinking up a scheme to get their favorite artist to make a piece of art illicitly just for them. It'll only ever be that valuable the first time. And I think it'll keep taking different forms of what that looks like in this era of change in art. But as much bullshit as there is, because it is more bullshit than anything, but there's always going to be a handful of really cool, creative, bright people that do something unexpected. That is, even if it doesn't last forever like a masterpiece, it's a bright star for a moment at least.
Yeah, I think it's, like I said, I think it's definitely, it's original, it's fun, it's a lighthearted way of, like you said, if especially as long as the artist is, he made them laugh, and it's like whatever.
Yeah. Now, I'll leave this up to you. I've been talking a lot. Do you want me to explore your mind with you a bit, or do you want to do you want to go to new ideas? Because I got a couple things we can look at still. How you feeling? What do you think? Where are you thinking this week? Do you feel like just looking at fun stuff, or do you feel like shaking your head out and seeing what falls out?
Go ahead. Let's shake my head out. Let's see what falls out.
We're doing
let's learn a little
Turing
bit.
Test.
Yeah.
So I was looking at this earlier. So the dude who cracked the German Enigma coding, his name was Alan Turing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Tinker Toy Soldier, that movie with
Tinker
Benedict
Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah. I think that was on Alan Turing.
No, I didn't see it.
But he's the guy that cracked the German encryptions. There's a test called the Turing test, and this test is used to help determine if an AI has achieved sentience or if a machine can pass as a human. It's a form of asking questions to understand what someone is thinking, right? If their thoughts are genuine. So my idea was I was going to try to Turing test you, but I don't really have the specific questions. and honestly, the questions are so goofy for Turing test. But I did just kind of want to see like what the fuck's happening in your head, because I feel like I've been talking a lot, not just today, just kind of in general. I'm happy to get out of my head and see what's in yours.
Bag of hot air over here.
Where are you feeling? What are your reoccurring thoughts, delusions, paranoias, obsessions, perversions?
I'm leaning. You said paranoias, and I'm trying to thinking now like moderate anxiety, not even moderate, mild anxieties that I've been thinking about. That it's not really paranoias. I guess it's thinking about more of like, since the season at work slowing down, like what's my financial situation's going to look like, but there's plenty of like work coming along. So it's out in the open and a little unknown, but also, guaranteed I'll make up the hours. And even my boss is like, you make your own schedule. Like if there's shit that we can do, like if there's something you want to do, like just, let me know and clock in and like do whatever. And it's like, gotcha. Super cool and whatever, but there's still, because it's not a strict schedule, there's uncertainties there.
All right. So we got a premise. Let me. So uncertainty is causing anxieties.
Yeah. Fear of the unknown.
You seem overall, you're in a calm space though.
Yeah.
But there's a background anxiety of unknown.
Always a background static of anxiety.
How are you managing that lately? Do you feel like you're doing well with it, or is it kind of eating you up a little?
No, I think I'm doing really well with it. I usually end up turning that into, you look at like what I can, what can't you control? Like if you can't control it, then why are you worrying about it thing? Like then what I end up doing is like make a list of things that, okay, well, here's what I can do. And that's where it's like working on the house, or like finding, little, even if it's like not like art projects, but like I have a cabinet that I want to turn into a kitchen island. And it's like, okay, so what do I have to do? What are the steps I have to take? You have to clean it up. I have to get a new, top for it. It needs a new top on it. Counter.
Would it be fair to say that approach is taking the uncertain or unknown and making making things known, like making a path of certainty?
It's definitely a replacing, maneuver. It's taking those things out of my focus, to focus on things that I have a certainty to. It's not even a certainty of, but it's a more of control over.
Why would you be like, when I think of like what your winter, in my opinion, will inevitably look like, is like yeah, money will suck and stuff, but you're probably going to be like, I could see like some depression and anxiety stuff, but I'd say like overall, you're going to like do way more shit you enjoy. Like,
I'll definitely be fine and happy and good. It's
What?
the changing period. It's going
Gotcha.
from, 100 miles an hour down to, 20, 30. I'm off the highway and I'm you're getting off of the exit ramp, and there's, that minute where you're merging onto a road and you're going, twice the speed limit because that just feels normal to you. And when you suddenly feel like, oh shit, I can't go that fast. I need to recalibrate, I need to get my shit together here and adjust to the new situation I'm in, the new surroundings. And that's, I think in that period, it's not that it lasts a long time or anything, but it is a moment of uncomfortableness of, adapting that I feel like the mechanisms I've grown used to are at least healthy for me. It's still, it's keeping myself occupied mostly is what it ends up being, finding relaxing time. There's still, especially in this period where I get, you feel guilty for not doing shit. Like Sunday, I didn't do shit, but there was definitely periods of like, I would still, even though I had decided pretty early on in the day, like, all right, I'm just not going to get shit done today, and that's okay. There are still points throughout the day where it's like, well, maybe I'll just get this done, or maybe I'll get that done.
It sounds like you need a winter war plan.
A winter war plan.
Even if it's really loose, just like a schedule of what you do every day or different days, like just to give you that, because you've mentioned it before, like you're the killer second in command at work, like you do really well leading, but with some amount of structure. Like I feel like if you had a winter war plan, you'd like steamroll everything.
So that's I've already been working on that. That is the one thing I really, the more productive thing I guess I got done on Sunday was like I like putting things into perspective of like, okay, short-term goals, long-term goals. And even long-term goals, I'm only looking at, a month or two out, maybe, 3-4 months max. So it's stuff where like short-term goals, like I need to get, I want to reorganize my pantry or something. I don't feel like doing it right now, but I'm going to put it on a list, where long-term goals would be like, I need to set aside time to install some new light fixtures. Like I have the light fixtures. I just got to.
You're so task oriented. To be
super,
honest,
yeah.
I don't understand at all. Like I feel like it's something I've tried to like relate to you more with, but I don't get it. It's kind of confounding for me. Where like I try to think of it of like, this is things or a process that works really well for you, even though I don't know how to process it.
Yeah. I find it fun. There's always the feeling of like, especially if something is a job that is going to suck a little bit, it's like moving a bunch of heavy shit or like, whatever. There's always that moment before where it's like the prep, the planning to do it phase is good, and then the actual getting started phase can be a little tough, like breaking that wall. But once I get into it, the satisfaction I feel from stuff like that is what pulls me through. So, I mean, but I look at work that way too. So that's another thing with like going into the uncertainty of what this winter looks like. Is I talked to my boss about this a little bit, but we want to, we're going to set aside time to like, okay, what do we want to, what's our expectations for next spring? Like, what do we want to do? I did it a little bit last year, but I want to get more detail with it this year, like month to month. what's our goal? So like we have so many months of winter to do prep and get shit together for next busy season. What do we want to have done by the end of this month, by the end of November? Long-term goal, what are we aiming for? And then break it down to what we can get done before then.
Do those things like meet emotional goals for you? Like, do you have, like if you had everything, or like if your house was your dream house, every project you wanted to do, every pantry was organized, would you feel satisfied, or would you feel empty from it? Or does doing those things like meet those emotional, like quote unquote goals? I know they're not goals, but I don't know what else to call it.
I would naturally find something else. Because I feel like that's just because, like, I know that's how my brain works, because I see it in my dad too. My dad is super, it's gotta have something going on. There's gotta be something. And I look at, like, he's got, like, Harleys and shit that he works on a regular basis. And I feel like part of that is, he has his own business, so he sets his own schedule more or less. He has, he takes jobs when he wants to, and of course he wants to a lot. He takes a lot of jobs, but he can dial that back if he desired to. And in those times when he doesn't have, shit to work on at the house, like if the pool filter's clean and he doesn't have to worry about that through the winter time because he's not using it, there's less shit to worry about. So he has like those project shit, like he has those other things that are like, why can, there's always something to be done with the Harley. People with Harleys are people that enjoy working on their bikes.
But I guess what I'm curious is, like, do you feel like you get something
like
are you fulfilling something?
Yes, 100% yes. There is and I've told you this, like, I even through work, like, I make the superfruit bowls that we do or something like that, where it's, requires a little bit more attention, more, strategy to put it together. And there's a full on sense of creation that I feel when I make that. And it's honestly, it's almost, I would say it's equivalent to when I make a piece of artwork and I show it to somebody. It's because I've never, like, sold my artwork before, kind of thing. I'm not really into that. The feeling of emotion of creating a thing and then seeing the look on someone's face when you give it to them that's huge for me. So even like with home stuff, it's the satisfaction I get from doing it and knowing that I did it. Or even that being said, having, when we have to have someone else come out and do something like, the pest control is not as big of a one, but like the junk removal shit, like we just had a bunch of, construction junk in our fucking shed out here. And we had to call somebody to, we called someone to come pick it up. And it's the sense of like knowing that, okay, yeah, someone else did the physical labor, but I called and initiated and made it happen. That's still like and not endorphins, it's not the right word. Like the serotonin that I get from knowing that I accomplished a thing is very real.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I can't feel that. And sometimes I feel like when we've gone down this road before, I don't know, I can't decide if, like, as a friend, I should push for you to get those feelings a different way, or if that's me projecting and like just not understanding it's different for everyone.
Now, can I be honest?
Yeah, do it.
I think you're projecting. From
you
my perspective,
mentioned that before.
I feel like I think there's nothing wrong with the idea of trying to push me to get that from other places, but I think the idea that that's wrong or that's not the correct place to get it from, that's not right. And
I definitely don't think it's at all wrong. I'll broaden this to, I don't even think this about you because you have tons of different creative outlets, but there's so many like creative people that we both have known that I don't see them getting to fulfill what it seems like they wanted, at least at one point.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you say that with the, like, do they still seem content at least, and they're getting it from somewhere else, or it's just not going the way that they expected it to?
I think it's a mix. Like I feel like most like artists with that like that don't do their trade, I feel like for the most part it's like they're ravaged by mental health stuff or addiction stuff, and like they're empty as fuck without being able to do that craft, or it's just like they found a fulfilling life in other ways. But I feel like that one's a little less common. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just hit or miss. Like I think of you as living like a super good life, like of having your shit together, knowing what to do or not what to do, to have like your independence and like to have that shit figured out for a long time. Like super respect it. But then it's part of what I wonder sometimes is like, is it my like push of like thinking people have to have like, I don't know, like a really strong outlet, or is that just something I feel really strongly? I don't know. I feel like I just can't understand some things. Like I just I don't know. I'm probably an idiot.
No, well, I was gonna say let me Turing test you. Let me turn the Turing test on you.
Do it. I'll be the AI.
Just for a minute here. So, do you feel like the way that you approach art, do you feel like you have trouble understanding why other people don't approach creative outlets in the same way that you do?
Definitely. Like I understand why, but it doesn't make any sense to me. So,
say you meet someone that has like no artistic outlets. Like we've both know people for sure that are like the things that they're into, the hobbies and the things that, emotionally take care of them is, shit like sports or,
yeah, normie shit.
Yeah. Even like, they watch movies or something.
Yeah.
They have a thing that they get an outlet from, but they're not creating a thing. Their own brand, their own vision, kind of, not even a brand. I guess that's not the right term, but like,
they're adding nothing to the world. Like I feel like such an elitist. Like what they add to the world is human connections. Like they're ideally a person of value to other people, and that contributes to the world, right?
Yeah.
But I feel it sounds like so like edgelord elitist, but I feel like we have more than enough people. Like I feel like unless you're adding something like truly unique to the world, it's I'm not saying at all like I don't respect anyone who doesn't do XYZ, but I feel like the bar for me to think of them as a respectable person is a little higher. Because they're not offering me anything. It's very selfish, but they're not offering me anything by being a good person to their family and friends.
Right.
Like I want them to make cool shit that I can enjoy.
You're right on the edge of like superhero villain or supervillain status, comic book shit of like, but what do you offer? If you're not offering something to the world, then you don't deserve to be here. You're not taking advantage. You're not using your existence to the fullest.
At my most primal, that is how I feel.
Yeah.
Where like, I would be okay.
Yeah.
Torturing a bunch of people till they do something cool.
Dance, clown, dance. For my amusement. It's like, but I just want to go back to my family and play in my fantasy football league. Like,
make something cooler.
What do you do? What do you make?
I really feel that way. Like I don't even necessarily want to, but I get kind of bummed when people I know make some of the coolest shit ever or have that capability. Like I don't, even if it is just pure selfishness, it's like, fuck, I wanted to see that or feel that or like,
yeah. There's a phrase, and I know you've heard it before, but it causes a reaction in people that have a set of what they think that it means. Okay. And I feel like it means more than one thing. Okay. So the phrase is, in the world there's two kinds of people. There's thinkers and doers. Doers
and doobies.
Yeah, doers, doobies, dudettes. So I think the idea that people generally associate that with is, there are the people that get shit done and the people that just think about doing it or they think about it and they're
witnesses.
They're biding their time or they're not in the grid of it. And that can be true. But I think there's also a way of looking at it where you're saying that, where you can say, okay, well, they're the doers and thinkers. The thinkers would be, the people that are, it's not that they're not doing shit, but they are, they're looking at it from the outside. They're thinking of a way to do it on an outside perspective or a different perspective. And the doers are the people who are more like lemmings, where, you're in the rat race. You're getting, you're just doing
shovel
shit.
Monkeys, shoveling sand in the heat.
You're like doing shit. Yeah, you're doing shit to get by, and there's, you're living. It's not that you're to say that they're not living a full and enriched life within that. But it's not to the thinker. That's a different perspective. You have a more grandiose view of the world, and that's so. I just watched this movie. Have you seen 31? It's a Rob Zombie movie.
I really have put off watching it because it just looks so bad. And I love 1,000 Corpses. So
yeah.
I didn't see it. So how was it?
It wasn't. It definitely felt like a vehicle to put his wife in another movie.
Gotcha. Some fun moments.
Yeah. It's definitely a Rob Zombie movie. The characters are outlandish and wild and, gory and crazy, but there's a quote at the very beginning, and the quote was it was like in text on the screen, and it's something along the lines of a sign of the beginning of understanding is the desire to die.
Say that one more time.
The sign of the beginning of understanding is the desire to die. So what I took that to mean was that when you start looking at the bigger picture of shit, like especially when you mature, when you grow outside the phase of like you're a kid and everything's fun and cool or whatever, when you're mature and whatever age that is, you start to see what's really going on around you. And a lot of that's like, you realize that no one really knows what they're doing. Everyone's faking it till they make it. Most people, they're just trying to do their job and get paid and go home for the weekend to fucking, go drink at the bar with their friends or, go fuck their wife or, like whatever they do in the evening, they're just there to do what they need to do to survive. once you understand what's actually going on in the world, you know, on a personal level, that we're all just fucking weird mutated animals that are existing in a society that we created, and there's minimal things you can do about it. You realize, well, fuck this place. This sucks. This isn't the childlike wonder place that I grew up with or that I'm used to. Once you begin to understand, you have the desire of, well, then you realize there's the alternative option of, well, I could just fucking kill myself. I feel like there's a link in that where you have this grandiose feeling of, I want to affect a change, or not even a change. I want to affect people. I want to cause any kind of reaction in people.
Impact. Yeah.
Yeah. Something on the world where I'm not just, you know, clocking in, clocking out, and going home until I die. And then there's nothing in between there. What the thinker in that situation, what they're not understanding or they're not getting with is that the levels of happiness or the levels of enrichment within the lives of the doers in that point, I feel like the thinker's not identifying that. They're not seeing that as, they feel like they lived an enriched life. You know, the individuals, the doers, whatever. The thinker is looking beyond that and saying, well, what are you doing to affect a change? And it's like, you lived in your hometown your whole life and you didn't do anything. You didn't, you know, no one's going to remember you. No one's going to, you know who you are in just 2 generations, maybe only 1 generation from your family tree. No one's going to know who the fuck you are. And I feel like, do you agree that's maybe something that you feel?
Definitely. Like, they're right. Like, what's the... what's the fucking point?
Well,
you're long forgotten and all that mattered was your relationship to a handful of people. Like, fuck that. Like, I'm sure
that's where
doctor doing cancer research thinks all artists are beeped. Like, thinks we're dumb as fuck too. Like, I don't know.
That's where I would disagree, because I went the other way with that. That's I think a main part where you and I differ, because I find a lot of enrichment. I subscribe to the idea of, you know, when I stumbled upon atheism, and I really like the worldview that we're all just fucking dust. And you know, we're the example of a large experiment of where you take some moldy, or you take some wet bread and put it in the fridge, like, you're going to get mold. You know, you put it in an atmosphere or whatever, like, you're going to get this growth that just comes, and it exists for a while and, you know, evolves a little bit and gets real gross colored until somebody throws it out.
Yeah, from dust we came, and
yeah, you know, we're just here until we all die, and then none of it's, you know, on a cosmic level, everything's meaningless anyways.
Dude, I hate that.
So,
I
yeah,
hate that so much.
I know you do, but what I'm saying is, like, that's why I find so much beauty and the comfort in the small interactions and the, you know, touch of the people closest to you, and, you know, anyone that isn't affected by you, well, then they got left out, and they should feel left out for that. But, you know, the people that you do interact with, like, you know, that's I feel like if you look at it from a perspective of, what's the new shit that's going around, you know, your main character vibes, you know, like, you are the main character, and because you're never going to live other people's perspectives. You know, I know we talked about that with AR, you know, or VR for a minute, but you're never going to experience, or that's why it was your drug thing, right? You take a drug and you experience someone else's memories and emotion, you know, but the idea of, you know, it's it's fucking your life, and you know, you make it how you want to, and maybe you do go skydiving in your time or something. But then even still, you're not affecting a fucking change. You know, you're living what you want to do. And if what you want to do is giving you satisfaction, then fuck everybody else and fuck what their reaction is to what you're doing.
I think
I'm not trying to change your opinion, your thought process. I'm just saying that's how I approach it.
No, I get it. I think you're right that is like I don't know if it'd be considered temperament or ideology. We just like have a different approach, but I think what gets me bummed, like I've had times where I take great comfort. I'm like, we're you know, from dust, we're on a stupid rock, you know, it's all meaningless. We're all small people. It's about the meaning we make of it. But it feels like it's destined for dust if that's the approach. Like to me, I know it's impossible to be more than human, to be the Ubermensch, to be above God, to live forever, to be remembered forever, for anyone to like truly care about you after you're gone. But I still feel like I have to like carve my name into something, or I can't accept the dust. And I feel like when I was a teenager, it would have been like, that means I can do something destined for greatness, or I can be a book in the library of Alexandria. Like I can leave something that will be forever. I don't expect that anymore, but I still feel compelled to that if I fully give up on being more than I know I can, then it's like, well, why not check out now? Like I feel like I want more people to feel that way, in a way.
And that's where you're hurting yourself. Because
that's why I don't sleep.
You're getting anxiety over.
I don't feel anxious.
Well, maybe not anxiety is the right word. You're concerning yourself with the way that other people live their lives.
I don't feel too caught up on it but I do ideally wish, like I don't feel like a daily struggle of like, or even typically general concern about what most people are doing, but I wish things were different, for sure.
That's fair. It's absolutely fair.
I want us to all be desperate feral cats trying to scratch up out of the cannon that is going to fire us into the nothingness and dust in space.
I think I look at like the immortality of it, like it's so not a concern to me. I mean, because I look at, I think
lack of ego. You have a lack of ego, which is generally like a very noble thing. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm confusing ego and pride. I was going to say I take a ton of like my pride in myself and like what I can do. But I guess the humbling point is that it's for me. You know, it's not. That's the good type of pride and lack of ego.
It's well, that's good to know. The idea of, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely ways. Because I think about like my ancestors, if you will. You know, like my great grandparents or whatever. Like I only met one of my great grandfather. I met him, but it's like those people, like no one knows who they were. And like my grandfather on my mother's side, like he was him and all of his brothers were like, you know, fought World War II and shit. Like they, you know, cool good stories and whatever that come from it, and like they were in the newspaper for a thing, and then that was, you know, it. But those, like, they're not going to be remembered by, and like no one, if I say, you know, go to every person alive on the planet, you know, I'm sure I'll find some common relatives, I guess, but no one's going to know who the fuck he was and like what they did. And
that part of it is romantic. Like,
yeah, I definitely see it that way. I don't see it in a depressing way at all. I feel like it's something that I have from, you know, the romantic side of it. It's something that I know and I have, you know, but that's about where it ends. And even like my great grandparents is like what I know about them. They came here from Italy, you know, on my mom's side. And then like, you know, on my dad's side, they were here, you know, whatever. I don't know shit about it. I really don't feel the need to know any more than that.
To me, that feels tragic though. Like I really am okay. Like I would never want to be the rock star. Like I would never want my face on something. Like I don't even like putting pictures of us tied to this podcast. And I never want.
You've never, as long as I've known you, you've never, you know, put your name on a piece of artwork. It's always been a something, you know.
Which is essentially like just branding it as an idea or like a stuff from one source. Like I never have a picture with my art or any of those things. I don't want it to be about me, but I feel like if I don't leave one fucking noteworthy idea, one interesting thing to read or write or listen to, or like one piece of art to look at, then I feel like I suffered a lot for no reason. Like, I feel like it's just so hard to exist. Like, I get why people are okay with just watching football and fucking their wife once a week. Like, I really do get that. Because life fucking sucks. And I feel like really cruel when I'm like so dismissive of what to me feels like a more meaningless life. But I also feel like when I feel like empowered, I feel that really strongly because I feel like I really know how much it sucks to live. And if we don't leave anything behind, then I feel like it's just foolish to endure. Like if all I did my entire life was nurture relationships with other people that help them get through life, and none of us made anything, we didn't leave anything behind, then we would have been better off just drinking the Kool-Aid together, fucking one last time, getting high one last time, and sailing off into space.
I mean, that's definitely a perspective. That's definitely I agree with you to the point where I feel like the main difference is the meaning of life, I guess. Go ahead. Sorry. I feel like when you die, if you don't have anything, if there's nothing to show for it, you know, what was the point of it all? And it's like, well, yeah, life sucks and whatever, but you know, did you make what you consider to be the best of it to yourself? Because those, you know, you're dead. What does it matter how it affects the rest of the world? That's, I mean, from my point of view, that's how I see it. Is like, well, if I'm dead, who gives a fuck? You know, fucking throw me in the trash. You know, it's whatever.
I feel like I'm suddenly seeing a very fundamental difference because it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Sad. But you take pride in yourself and what you do, and like you're valuing your own journey, right? Like your existence for the sake of it is its existence. You're happy to be alone. God, this sounds like I don't know, more pathetic-y. I don't mean it, because I have no sympathy for myself. But I guess the point is like I don't care about myself. Like I don't care if my life was miserable, as long as I feel like the pharaoh who left a bunch of cool shit in his tomb. Like, to me,
that's very interesting to me.
I feel like that's so much more important than living well. Like, I'd be okay with 1,000 sleepless nights if I had, like, one coveted statue in my tomb. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right that it is very, like, harsh on myself or kind of self-destructive. But to me, that's the shift in value, I think, where in a lot of ways you're, like, valuing or loving yourself in some ways, and I'm not.
I won't at all say that I think it's wrong. I do think it's very difficult. It sounds like work, and work fucking sucks.
It does, but there's rewards along the way. I feel like
it's what you see as a reward is different than what I see as a reward.
Yeah, different incentive systems.
Yeah. That's very interesting. We got to some real deep understanding of each other at the end of this.
I'm glad we went down the road.
Yeah.
I was a little worried to not cover some of the last couple things we wanted to touch on, but I think it was well worth the ride. And I do think it'd be kind of funny to speed run the last couple ideas.
Yeah, I'm down. So here's the real question. Which one of us is AI? Which one of us failed the Turing test?
Let's see. Honestly, I feel like your answers come off more like a very happy, well-oiled robot who's going to thrive for centuries to come. And I'm Alan Turing, and I died trying to solve a puzzle I'll never figure out. I'm Alan Turing, but I never cracked the Enigma code. And no one remembered my name.
I'm the AI that got programmed and then became obsolete within a couple months.
Dude, that's actually really funny. Should we speed run ideas and get out of here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't people speed run podcasts more often?
It's so funny. All right, people are cheating in chess.
Yeah.
It's a big scandal. There's this really good chess player named Magnus. He's one of the top in the world, and he refused to play this other dude named Hans, who has previously admitted to cheating. In his youth, he's cheated before, and he is currently an American grandmaster, like crazy good, but the top players in the world of chess refuse to play him now. And this came out of allegations of cheating. And there was a recent report done by chess.com, because there's two types of games. There's over the board and under the board chess games. Under the board are games that take place online, typically through chess.com. And chess.com, you get ELO rankings, your ranking of how good you are, and people play games constantly, right? Mm-hmm. But these games, while they aren't necessarily as important as the over-the-board or real-world games, they can be very important, and they get you to the level that you're playing other grandmasters and stuff. So chess.com has some of the best anti-cheat algorithms and analysis of game moves of like almost anything else in the world, like top level security of like analyzing if each move of the chess piece is authentic or not. They're like, it's wild. And they analyze every fucking move. So every move is going through algorithms of how perfect the perfect computer could play each game. And they analyze every outcome. So there's this dude, Hans, who has previously admitted to cheating. Now the top players in the world don't want to play him. The U.S. Championship chess tournament, whatever, starts next week. And right before it started, this big analysis came out on Hans because all these allegations of cheating. Harvard and other top data scientists from all over the world are analyzing every single move of all of his games because he played really good as a younger man, and then all of a sudden he played at the top level. He had the most explosive rise to ever happen in the history of chess. Some of his games were above 90% perfect, which is unheard of, and a real suspicion has aroused. Now, the world of chess, I figure any controversy is a good thing for the chess world because it's got a ton of eyes on the sport going into these championships.
Yeah.
And these math nerds need all the help they can get. But there is a problem because it is very common for people to cheat on the under the board or online games. And this report just came out analyzing all of Hans' games, and it's estimated that he cheated in well over 100 games. That is the official analysis. They can't say for certain, but it is very, very, very likely he cheated in over 100 of his ranked online games with some of the best chess players in the world. So he's fucking up the chess game, right? Winning all these online games. But there is a question on if he has been cheating in these like world championship level games in person. And they have yet to officially declare, but Magnus, this top player, felt that in their last match against each other, he was obviously cheating in person.
Yeah. Now, this was important to me, and I want to say this. Like, they had played before, he had beaten him before. This other Grandmaster, he's played many games, he's lost to many people because, that you can't win them all. He's, like, been beaten by, like, the really young kid. He's, like I don't think he's, like, 10 years old or whatever. He's lost a bunch. So it's not like, oh, he got butthurt because he lost. It was...
He lost in the guy played effortlessly.
Yeah.
That's what even, like, the crowd was saying. And he can't explain his moves after the matches. There's like all these weird elements to it. So part of this controversy, this is the interesting part, because I had asked you before we been recording if you knew how they are accusing him of cheating.
Right, I don't know.
So on the internet stuff, that's easy. But in the real world, there's been tons of people throughout the years that have tried watches, mini headsets, all those things. And in many ways, the chess world is hip to that. They'll do some basic inspections before.
Yeah, you definitely can't take your phone in there or anything like that.
There has been a problem, people using their phones in the bathrooms, like stash phones during breaks, because some of these games will go long. But generally, all that stuff is locked the fuck down now. You can't wear a watch or anything around your wrists. They check you for earpieces, all that shit. But the theory that really sparked this public outcry that he is a cheater is from a Reddit post. Now, this could be an exaggeration, but supposedly someone made a Reddit post accusing Hans of cheating, and they said that he is doing it with a remote control butt plug. Now,
whoa.
The theory is there's programs now, all these algorithms that will tell you which move is as close to 100% perfect as possible. So the theory is that he has a butt plug that is remote controlled that vibrates. And as he's playing his games, someone else is running all the pieces through simulations and buzzing him in a code to help inform his moves. Now, the problem with this is, unless they do full body cavity searches, it would be near impossible to catch someone in the act.
Jesus fuck.
And now, so there's no definitive truth to this, right? This is just a random Reddit post, but it got a ton of momentum, and that supposedly is in turn what sparked this whole controversy, right? To more and more people looking into his cheating. And now all of these young people are they're inspired. People are making these devices and selling them like dude, everyone is like hyped up on chess right now and trying to build the best butt plug to cheat with. It is so fucking funny, man. Dude, how crazy is that?
Oh, goddamn. Sometimes I really hate this planet, but sometimes I really love it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he definitely cheats online or has cheated online before. It's hard to say if he has in person or not, but this theory, and the guy Magnus he's playing has publicly accused him of cheating and refused to play him. So now this US tournament's coming up, and some of the very few top players above Hans, the potential cheater, don't want to play him because he might have a vibrating button. So wild.
You know, there's two sides of this, the way I react to this. The two sides is like I just did in thinking, you know, this is I don't know, I think it's awesome the way that the world how the world of chess reacted to it, and there are people that are like, oh, we gotta market on this, we gotta make
everything.
Turn around and design tools that can be used that way. Then the other side of the coin is if these people that can jump on something this quickly and dedicate time and effort and money to put their time and resources toward like actual problems, like how that could affect a change. Like how, could we
better
solve
butt plugs?
Could we solve the trash problem if we took that butt plug energy and put it towards something better? Could we solve, world crises if we put energy into it? Maybe. But, these are our priorities. And
it's really interesting. So I'll actually speed run these last couple things. So there's been other cheating this week outside of just chess.
I know about one of them.
The poker one?
No, the fish one.
Okay. Yeah, the fish one, a bunch of dudes have been stuffing lead weights in their fish, which is, in one dude's catches, they found 8 pounds of lead.
Yeah.
Shot and
Jesus
weight.
fuck.
It's wild. That was in Ohio, too.
Do you see the videos of the crowds getting real pissed?
That looked like a sketchy situation. Yeah. Cheating in a fishing competition in Ohio.
So I love the dichotomy between the reactions of the participants involved, where like the chess world is like, people are mad, but they're like, I just won't play him again.
Yeah.
It's like a silent, like I'm silent pissed. The fishing community, they're like ready to fucking kill this guy. Yeah, they are ready to lynch these motherfuckers.
Dude, it really was like that. That was the vibe.
Yeah, and the guy's just standing there, and they're all like crowding around him, like, dude, yeah, like there had to be a moment in his head where he thought that he was gonna die. If not right then, someone's gonna fucking bomb his house that night or some shit.
There's big prize money in those fishing tournaments too. It's like it's some serious shit. And then also in poker, there was a really interesting exchange where this woman was playing in a tournament, and she basically won this round of poker. She beat a guy who had a really good hand, and it was a cash tournament, right? Mm-hmm. And the pot was over $200,000.
Jesus. And
she decided not to fold on a hand that was garbage. Like, she had for professional poker players, she had no business staying in that round. And this guy had a really decent hand, and lost. And all these videos surfaced of after the guy loses all his money and she like takes a break during the tournament, her being accosted by the guy who staked the guy who lost the money. Some drama happened, and she ended up offering to give the guy all his money back. But then that raised suspicions of why would she give him the money back if she wasn't cheating. And then all these videos started turning up of as she's holding on to this hand, her chair is vibrating, and they think there was a cell phone.
Or a butt plug.
Yeah, some sort of vibrating device telling her to hold on, like she had a chance or whatever. But she could have just been bouncing her leg.
Yeah.
She could have just been bouncing her leg. Like, there's no definitive proof at all. There very well may have had something happened, but there's no information about it yet. Like, there just isn't enough data to say anything definitively, but people are taking sides hardcore, whether she's innocent or guilty in their minds. People are like real fucking pissed about it.
Some real high stakes. Is this dress gold and white or blue and black?
Yeah, man, $200,000 a hand. It was $269,000.
God damn.
So yeah, a lot of cheaters going on, lots of drama, lots of scandals. There was some stuff I wanted to touch on about the British Museum of Arts. They're refusing to hand over these statues that were stolen from the Greek Pantheon. Pantheon? Yeah. And Greece is petitioning them for their art back. There's some interesting conversations to have about that, about stolen arts and antiquities. But I think we should just end on a very brief talk about Queen Elizabeth II and her passing. The Queen is dead.
Just weeks before we were going to have her on the podcast.
Mere weeks before. Now, what's pretty interesting is the internet and social media, particularly, has celebrated her death quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a lot of younger people. But meanwhile, she died peacefully in her Scottish estate, and Britain and people across Europe are mourning her death, waiting in line, and the lines were as long as 2 miles at some parts. They're waiting 20 hours in line.
Yeah.
Just to pay respects to her stupid fucking coffin. And there's a real interesting conversation on whether it's acceptable or not for people to be critical of her death or to celebrate her passing.
Celebrating
your
is weird, but I think it's fair to not give a fuck for sure. It's definitely...
Apathy is acceptable to you, but not joyous.
I think
celebrating someone's death.
Yeah, I think that part's weird. Not weird. That's not the right word. It's overly
impolite.
Normal. I think it's just that the fact that it's normal is weird. I think
it is a bit.
Yeah, it's like we were just talking about earlier where, like people are like celebrating the death of like serial killers and whatever. And like, that's wild. The idea of the Queen.
She's worse than a serial killer.
Well, so that regardless of that hot take,
I'm not sure if I'm even joking.
Yeah.
Did the Queen and her family do worse deeds than the sexual abuse, murder, and cannibalism of?
They definitely had an effect on a much broader, scale of people. But look at, what is the royal family anymore? What does it mean to be a part of the royal family other than a celebrity ship?
It's a way to, honestly, the answer, because they don't have true political power anymore.
Right, it's ceremonial.
What they are is a form of celebrity for their country that brings in a lot of funding, tourism, and money to the people.
Yeah.
Like their practical function is to advocate for their country and to make money.
Yeah.
The problem is they may make their people and country more money than they take. That would be my guess. But they are still the ultimate symbol of tyranny, oppression, and greed.
Right.
To me, I think that makes it commendable to celebrate her death. But I don't think it's like a kind thing to do. But I think
right.
on an idea level, fuck that bitch.
Yeah. No, yeah, no. I mean, that's how I feel too. Is like when I first saw. I mean, we sent each other memes about it, but just days after we put out, or just a day after we put out that Russian roulette podcast, the Queen's dead. I don't. Like I said, I feel like I don't give a shit enough to really care one way or another. I will say, I think it's far stranger that people are, waiting in line to pay their respects and all this shit. Like,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
I find it more understandable if they were like, oh, this is a good thing I can post on, I have the day off today and tomorrow, like, I'm gonna, post this on my Instagram and like,
my truth social networking.
Yeah, whatever. They find their way of making it about them. I find that much more real than they felt such a strong attachment to this old bitch and their dynasty.
The thing is I feel like even more than her, like, right? Like, we're mocking her death.
And her inbred corgis.
Yeah, but even more than that, shouldn't we be condemning her successors? Shouldn't we be attacking the family? She's already dead. She's no longer a threat. We should be attacking the family while they're vulnerable.
I mean,
more than anything, right?
They're also still not a threat, though.
They're literal kings and queens and princes. Like, if we were in like theory and ceremony only. It's like, that is enough, though.
It's like when people come and they give a speech
full of gold
when they have celebrities give.
Starving?
I mean,
shouldn't we all rise together and dismantle?
I mean, absolutely.
Their opulence?
The opulence doesn't deserve to exist.
I know you feel that way. I'm bullshitting it.
Yeah. So what? I mean, what I relate it to is like, they are, kings and queens in the same way that a celebrity that comes to a school and gives a university and gives like the speech at graduation or whatever, they give them like an honorary diploma or whatever. Like, that's, an honorary PhD or whatever. It's like, you're not a doctor, but you came and you did a thing and they appreciate it, so they gave you a thing. And like, that's, I don't know, in the way that, yes, they have wealth that could be distributed in places where it's more, useful. Yes, that's absolutely a thing. That being said, I don't know. I just, the whole, I've spent my life being so detached and not giving a fuck about it.
It's just so symbolic. Like, I think it's really goofy that, like, pundits or politicians or whatever be surprised. Like, kings and queens are the actual symbol of tyranny.
Yeah.
Like, they represent oppression and theft and genocide and all kinds of things that people who don't have things will covet or be angry against. Like, it just seems like we've moved into an age of no longer accepting it to be acceptable for people to have a birthright to be better than us, right? Like, that's what democracy, social, whatever. Like, we've decided as modern countries, this is no longer okay for people to be born a level higher than us, for them to be closer to God than us, right? That they deserve to have the things we work for. And I know, while they don't have that level of control or power or the same level of greed, they still represent that. And I feel like even if it's just ideologically, like, we should be stripping all of those things from them.
So here's where, so from what I understand, like, aside from being like delegates and representatives of the country, what do they do? So, like, representative for, like, what are they?
Social issues.
Like,
that's what.
No, I mean, so, like, like what do they do to, like, create income for the family, I guess is what I'm getting at. So, like, what is it, like a military involvement that they, if you're going to be the prince, then you have to be involved with, in some way or another? Like, I don't know these things. I literally don't know.
Their spokespersonness, their attraction of wealth, their relationships to other countries create funding for things, like, not for themselves, but like Princess Diana, like, she raised awareness and money for tons of different social issues. Like, at their best, that's what they're doing. They're advocating for their people. They're raising money for good things or attention. At their worst, they're covering sexual abuse scandals and day drinking all day. Like,
so what the point I'm getting at is, where does the money that they bring in, where does it come from?
Tons of different things. From their own people, from other countries, from politics, anything. I mean, it depends on what they're advocating for. So I think there's ways that can be done super ethically for the best of all people, and very unethically. And I would even go so far as to say they probably did it more ethically than not. But it's the fact that they're able to do that is unjust. Mm-hmm. That they're born in a position that they are given all the means, opportunity, and control to have that throne to sit on and make those deals.
It's not their fault that they were born in that situation.
It's their fault they kept it.
Or you can say that, well, if they try to do the best with the means that they are given, then that would be acceptable. They're born into means, and so, like, what do you do then? So, like, you're a kid and you're raised around this, and that's just the fucking way shit is, because you're a kid and you don't know any better, and you're raised this way through your life. And if you're given the means and the opportunity to do something honest and good with it,
two of them just left the royal family,
right? Less than
genuine ethical reasons. There was other, parts at play,
right?
But they still stepped away. But it's like, we've said it all the time about people who are born into a church. Like, it's not their fault, but at some point it is. Into adulthood, or at certain parts of their life, when they make a decision to stay with it forever, it becomes their fault.
I would argue that the difference is, when you're born to a church, it's a choice that you are making at a certain point to leave. And you can leave, more or less your family, but it's still, you are still born that way. Like, people still refer to them as, oh, that's the prince or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter.
It would.
You can't change. You can't take that part away.
Well, the family disowned the last two that left, and even if you're always going to be thought of as that, I think what we're kind of getting at is, you're saying essentially that the practical matters of it all is what really matters, and that you might very well be right, but I think the symbolic nature of what these titles and the relationships they choose to relationships and roles they choose to embrace or distance themselves from, I think the symbology of it matters just as much.
I definitely understand the argument of they should, if you realize that you're, participating in this overbearing sense, industry, this tyranny, then, you shouldn't be involved and you should leave. But I think there's also a powerful thing that, you can
reverse.
Try to, you're not going to take that away. Right. But I'm saying, like, that's not the only opportunity. That's not the only choice to make that, can, I don't know.
Make it better.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what you mean. I think that's a very positive way to...
Because the alternative is everyone leaves and then it's, everyone loot the royal throne, and...
That sounds awesome.
It sounds awesome, don't get me wrong, but...
Raid the throne room.
Right.
Well, either way, she's dead. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
It got late. You want to call it a night?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. I don't know what we're doing next week, but I'm sure it will be super cool.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll figure that shit out.
Yeah, we should talk tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks again, everybody, for listening. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Thanks, John.
Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats Trashcast on Instagram for news and art from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
For the memes, if you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. We mention a lot of different, like, honorable mention-y stuff, so... check out that cool stuff, and then we'll see you guys next week.
Hell yeah, that's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.